it's Flo, and this is my impression of a traveling lounge singer.
And we're going up the airport escalator. Hey, where you from? No response. Classic. Got in an accident, so you gotta take a cab, huh? No cabs at Progressive service centers. They got rental cars on site, which is out of sight, you know?
Progressive takes the hassle out of claims. Just drop your car off at one of our service centers and we'll manage the rest.
Here's a little number I like to call Waiting for the Shuttle Bus.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Service centers not available in all areas. You have a choice of repair facilities.
Blog Talk Radio.
Everybody, glad to have you with me here today on this wonderful Sunday. It is October 18th, 2015, and we are about to get started. It is indeed time to tap into the truth. With you as always, I am your ever so humble host, Tim Tapp, and we are more than happy today to be joined by two very, very good guests, and I hope you're as excited to talk to these folks as I am. At the bottom of the first hour, we'll be joined by Tennessee State Representative Sheila-Butt. She has introduced in the Tennessee House Bill 1418, which is designed to try and help better define what is and is not acceptable as far as the social studies and history courses here within the state as far as the standards are concerned, and running that line between what you can talk about, because religions have played a role in history, of course, and what you cannot talk about, what crosses the line over into indoctrination. Then, after we have that discussion, in the second hour, I will be joined by Tea Party Community co-founder and one of the main guys at crowsnestpolitics.com, Mr. Ken Crow, and we'll be talking a little bit about the quest for the speaker. As the Speaker of the House race continues to make its way between the world of the wonderful options, what's the word I'm looking for here? We're talking about the main party. Anyway, I also want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to Mary and to Larry, both in the chat room today. Thanks for joining us, Mary. Glad to have you back after missing you last week and having you come in a little late after a week before that, and very happy to see you here. Also, Larry of the Prime Directive is hanging out with us, listening in. Appreciate you guys coming in. To touch on the topic of this Safe Cities initiative here in a little bit. But before we get into any and all of that, I want each and every one of you, the next time you are challenged by a liberal, to ask them these simple, basic questions, because there's these conundrums that I'm trying to figure out how can they keep selling this. Now, this is a side effect, of course, of having watched the Democratic debate. I don't really want to talk a whole lot about that because, quite honestly, nothing new came of it. I was somewhat impressed by Anderson Cooper's attempt to, at least on occasions, try and point out that the candidates weren't actually answering the questions that were asked, and to try to fish to get an actual answer. Didn't happen too much with Hillary or with Bernie, but I think it would work a little better with the other candidates. And also Anderson made a pretty good attempt, far better than I've seen in a while with anybody, of keeping the candidates within the confines of the time allowed. Again, with the notable exception of Hillary and Bernie. I kept noticing that when it came to foreign policy, everything is still Bush's fault. Everything started in Iraq. It all started with Iraq. Code speak. it's still Bush's fault. Last time I checked, when it comes to the difficulties, the issues, all the crazy that's going on in the Middle East in particular, all of that started about 1,400 years or so ago, about the time this crazy philosophy of world conquest, which included a small bit of religion as part of it, a belief in this little moon god, it was being spread by this, let's be fair, let's be accurate, let's be honest, really being spread by this illiterate pedophile. And in case you haven't clued in just yet, we are talking about Islam. The Prophet Muhammad, he was illiterate, he was a pedophile, he was all around not nice guy. But I digress. Seemed like that was the starting point of all the problems, had very little to do with George W. Bush. But everything was still Bush's fault. Good to see Lady Michelle has joined us in the chat room as well. Glad to have you here as well, Michelle. As we consider everything else, we saw that both Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton seem to think that the email scandal is not an issue. In fact, Bernie's tired of hearing about those damn emails. Well, good for you, Bernie. I'm sure everybody in the Democratic side is, because guess what? She broke the law. There's people in prison who've done less. General Petraeus comes to mind really quickly. But as far as Bernie's concerned, it was pretty obvious. I had this throwback, felt like I was back in 1967, which is kind of odd considering I wasn't born until 71. But everything Bernie was, it was, here, free candy. You want this stuff, it should be free. And no real answers, no real solutions. And, that's really about it. For the first time, though, and I have to say that this is probably an exciting bit from the debate, a lot of Americans finally know that there actually are people challenging for the Democratic nomination, and, well, sort of anyway, other than Hillary and Bernie. I'm sure a lot of people had no idea. For a lot of Americans, I'm sure this was the first time they heard names of some of these people, even though we have former governors on the stage, and probably even in their home state, the people are very forgettable people. But here's what I want to know. Here's what I want answered. Here's what I want all of you to challenge every liberal that comes to you. Ask them, especially if they're still supporting one of these candidates, how can they continue to get away with selling this? Who's still buying? America is a capitalist and greedy, yet half of the population is subsidized. So they tell us America is capitalist and greedy. But for half of the population to be subsidized, somebody somewhere is not being quite so greedy. Now, half of the population is subsidized, yet that same half of the population thinks that they're victims. How are you a victim if you're being subsidized? Somebody's helping to take care of you. They think that they're victims, yet their representatives run the government. Their representatives are running the government, yet the poor keep getting poorer, at least under certain administrations. The poor get poorer, yet they have things that people in other countries only dream about. And we have had that conversation a multitude of times. We have talked about how in other parts of the country, we just flat out do not have, in other countries around the world, I mean to say, they don't have anything close. The poor in America, they have cell phones. The poor in America, they have multiple vehicles, or at least a lot of them do in certain parts of the country. They have televisions in every room. They have cable TV or satellite television. They have a ton of great items. And so there you go. Now, while these people have things that people in other countries only dream about, the TVs, the cell phones, the game stations, whatever else they happen to have. These same people want America to be more like those other countries. Now, those are just 6 of the modern conundrums that we see in our country. This is the platform that the Democrats run on. It's hard to imagine. All right, well, I have a caller on the line, so I'm going to go ahead and take the caller right now. Caller, you're on the line.
I said I'd call in to listen.
All right.
This is Mary.
All right. Hey, Mary. Okay, I didn't realize that that's who you were, so I'm going to go ahead and put you back on the side, and thanks for listening. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so there's Mary. She's listening on the phone, and that is awesome as well. Okay, now, let's talk a little bit about this Safe Cities issue. We've got some serious questions going on, and there is some huge possible inclinations as far as what could possibly be meant in regards to the UN being involved in this program. Now, there are some misconceptions, and there are some information that's being kept from the public. So I wanted to take a quick look at all that, but before we dive into that, I am going to go ahead and take a quick break, and I will be right back. So just stay with me. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back. Thanks for staying with me through that rather quick and short commercial break. I was having to take care of a little bit of business. Had callers on the other line and trying to get the situation squared away. It was King Crow was actually calling. Evidently, he was trying to make sure that he had the correct number to call in later. Didn't realize we were already on the air, which is fine, absolutely. Great when you have guests that are concerned that they're actually going to be able to be with you as you plan. Also want to, again, thank Mary for listening. She's apologizing in the chat room. Didn't want to hear her hacking. I'm sorry that you're still having to deal with that cough there, Mary. That's rough stuff. There's a lot of stuff going around right now. A lot of stuff. Stomach viruses and colds, coughs, flu. Going to be a rough health-wise winter, I'm afraid. All right, now let's get to talking about it. We had, week before last, our Justice Department announced that the United States is going to be participating in what's being called the Strong Cities Network. And the plan for this Strong City Network calls for systematic efforts. I'm